Hello, everyone. It is indeed a pleasure for me to share information with you again. Since we will talk about decreasing attention span, I urge you not to fast forward this presentation. And it is important that you stay in tune to see what I'm really going to be talking about. In addition, if you are a parent, educator, instructional designer, or someone who wants to know more about diminishing attention span, this one is for you. I am pleased to have my co-presenter, Beth, here with me today. Now let's get started. Over to you, Beth.
Thanks, Rohan. Rohan, I am sure you remember what it was like attending school in Jamaica and England. Back then, you had to rely on your memory for every task. We are now at a stage where educators say an adult audience has an attention span of 5 minutes. Rohan, can you take us back into the past and bring us back to the present in relation to attention span?
Yes, Beth, thanks for that. I remember that time. You had to memorize information. We had to do our timetables from 2 times 2 going back to 12 times 12. The only place you could find information for examination was in your brain. Notwithstanding, I still have some of my books that I still use to locate information. A few days ago, I came across an article. It talked about excess content and decreasing attention span in students. The reality is that we have gone so far beyond now that we have content available everywhere and at any time. And the reality is that digital content is just everywhere. In my time, you had to recall all the content. Hence, I wonder if some individuals now are using digital devices as an extension of their brain. However, that is my perspective. But why do you need to memorize things when you can have it just on your mobile phone for access? Notwithstanding, there are some other factors that you might want to consider if you want to have access to digital devices when you are in an emergency crisis. That could be problematic.
Thanks for sharing, Rohan. I find the digital device as an extension of the brain humorous. However, based on observation, this may be the position. Let me say that it is becoming increasingly clear that many students may not need to memorize the information as you did back in your time. In reality, they need to find it. The truth is that technology is changing the way students employ their brains. Some people are saying, why do we need to memorize the information when we can access the info right away? It should be noted that research is highlighting that attention span at both work and school has been reduced. Furthermore, it can be associated with the increase in digital behaviors. Educators and professional development experts have tried desperately to modify lessons to match these new and emerging behaviors associated with a shorter attention span. Rohan, what are your thoughts?
Well, Beth, my only concern is that there is consistently a decreasing attention span based on research. We will lose the capacity to activate parts of our brains to do basic tasks that require immediate action. However, based on what is happening, it is my thought that most teaching and learning activities now have factored in that students are having reduced attention span. But one thing that I want to mention, how do we ensure that students maintain attention on a task? And how do we structure that learning engagement will be very important in the future.
I understand your point, Rohan. The reality is that educators and many other stakeholders are worried about students' struggle to be attentive in classes. Many users are distracted by social media, hence keeping attention on a task is very difficult. This leads to the reduction of time to solidify learning for the future. Another point I would like to mention is how information is shared and spread today and its effect on students' concentration. Imagine someone reading a text message only to be distracted by an incoming text that is more important than the first. Subconsciously, we have been conditioned to respond to notifications. Hence, the need to stay focused in the digital world can be complex. Let's explore one issue that continues to challenge teaching and learning. On average, psychologists estimate that a student's typical attention span is between 10 to 15 minutes. Regardless of this guideline, the average class extends way beyond this suggested time. Therefore, we must consider how digital content is formatted to maximize attention as we go further into digital spaces. Teachers, instructional designers, and all stakeholders must find innovative ways to keep our learners' attention and focus to the highest level. For example, it is time to consider deploying more interactive content for learners to be active participants in the learning engagements. What are your thoughts on this, Rohan?
Well, Beth, I think we should aim to get our students to be active participants in their online course. Being active will have a positive impact on their learning. I'm sure when students are engaged, they will be on task. However, for this to take place, we have to kind of remove those distractions in the classroom. Educators must ensure that engagement in the online space or physical space is focused and purposeful. If it's not, then students will not be engaged.
I agree, Rohan. As you replied, you got me thinking about the traditional lecture session. Many educators continue to advocate for these conventional approaches based on class sizes. However, the need for creativity and justification for such gatherings will need to be explored carefully. However, let me say that a lecture session can be planned in such a way so that the listeners can be engaged. For example, students can interact with the presenter using their smartphones. There are so many ways to have engagement. Rohan, do you have any final tips to offer?
Certainly, Beth. Let me say that I believe that all lessons must have a rhythm. In other words, a lesson must have a pace that will motivate the learner, engage the learner, and allow the learner to move to the beat of the lesson until the end. When I talk about the beat, I'm talking about knowing what's coming next and is anticipating because they are motivated. Designing a lesson will require focused interactions and instructions, removing of visual distractions. And also, we need to ensure that we focus on giving learners breaks. Sometimes these learners want a break or two. In addition, it may be necessary for educators to consider using flexible materials that will allow students greater interactivity in that task. I would also recommend that educators learn and use new and emerging technologies that have AI technologies within them. Let me also say the breaking down of content into chunks is going to be very important to ensure that the learner is able to absorb that content that is given by the teacher, of course. The key is, I believe that the attention span has diminished based on our digital world. And we have to think purposefully regarding how we are going to ensure that students are engaged. Knowing that diminishing attention span is possible, the educators must modify traditional teaching approaches to ensure learners are actively engaged. At this point, I turn it over to you, Beth.
Thanks, Rohan. Let me say thanks to everyone who joined this session. Please remember to support Rohan's work by subscribing to the channel and sharing his content. Let us all plan for the full engagement of all learners. I am Beth, and thanks for watching.